regulatory boost, China has issued new guidelines for the capital market, aiming to strengthen regulation and promote high-quality development. Hainan Expo, the fourth China International Consumer Products Expo, the largest of its kind in Asia Pacific, is set to kick off tomorrow in China's southern island province of Hainan. Inflation concerns. Germany and France witnessed inflation easing to 2.3% amid energy price fluctuations, while Spain experiences uptick. From CGTN headquarters here in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Xia Vandenberg. Chinese President Xi Jinping has held talks with Suriname's President Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, reaffirming the deep-rooted friendship and cooperation between the two nations. The discussions centered on reinforcing their strategic partnership and enhancing collaboration under the Belt and Road Initiative. Xi emphasized both nations have always treated each other with respect and equality, serving as a model for South-South cooperation. He expressed China's willingness to enhance economic and trade cooperation, deepen exchanges, and strengthen the strategic partnership. President Xi welcomed Suriname's support on issues crucial to China's core interests and expressed the desire to expand bilateral trade in various sectors, including agriculture, energy, and the digital economy. President Santokhi highlighted to the contributions of the Surinamese Chinese community to the nation's development and reaffirmed Suriname's unwavering support for the One China principle. The meeting also marked the signing of multiple bilateral agreements. China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, released its latest financial data on Friday. China's outstanding aggregate financing to the real economy reached 390 trillion yuan, or approximately $54 trillion by the end of the first quarter of this year. This marks an annual increase of 8.7%, which is more or less on par with the growth rate in the January and February period. New loans issued by banks totaled 9.5 trillion yuan, or about $1.3 trillion, slightly lower than the same period last year. China's M2 supply, the broadest measurement of money supply, climbed 8.3% year-on-year to over 304 trillion yuan at the end of March. Now let's take a look at China's foreign trade during the first 3 months of the year. China's foreign trade in the first quarter reached a record high, surpassing 10 trillion yuan, or about $1.4 trillion, marking a 5% increase compared to the same period last year. Exports grew by 4.9% to 5.7 trillion yuan, while imports rose by 5% to 4.4 trillion yuan. Trade with Belt and Road participating countries and BRICS nations grew at a faster pace than the overall figure. Trade with Belt and Road countries stood at 4.8 trillion yuan, accounting for almost half of China's total foreign trade. Private firms also experienced double-digit growth in foreign trade in the first quarter, accounting for over 50% of the total. Notably, China's exports in electromechanicals such as computers, automobiles, and ships saw robust growth, while labor-intensive industries achieved nearly 10% growth. The General Administration of Customs predicts continued growth in China's foreign trade in the first half of this year, but also highlights challenges related to geopolitical tensions and trade protectionism. Stay tuned for more in-depth analysis on these trade figures later in the program. China has called for enhanced supervision of its capital market to bolster its development as a financial powerhouse. The State Council issued instructions on Friday aimed at establishing a secure, regulated, transparent, open, active, and resilient market. Key measures include strengthening regulations, mitigating risks, and promoting high-quality development. Investor protection, particularly for individual investors, has also been emphasized. The guidelines entail rigorous reviews of IPO listing, increased on-site inspections, and reinforced accountability for stakeholders such as accounting firms and sponsors. The impact of major economic and non-economic policies on the capital market will also be assessed to ensure policy consistency. The government also plans to encourage long-term investment, facilitate the growth of equity funds, and optimize the policy environment for insurance investments in shares. Now, for more insights on China's foreign trade and the country's efforts to strengthen capital market regulations, let's bring in Qin Yong, a special guest researcher at Shanghai Development Research Foundation. Qin Yong, good to see you. So first, how do the most recent trade numbers from China reflect its current economic development, and what implications might they have for global trade dynamics?
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me. Before I go into the newest release, I'd like to go back to last month's situation a little bit. We know that according to the GACC, China's year-over-year export growth in US dollar terms rallied from the first 2 months compared with the December 2023, though there are some base period data recalibration factors here. And on the other hand, consumer price index year over year also rallied due to the Spring Festival influences. Putting together, the 2 months data represents quite a promising opening of the new year, considering the strong foreign demands and the stably picking up domestic demands. However, yesterday's CPI reads show some weakening momentum. The CPI year over year fell notably from 0.7% to 0.1%, close to deflationary boundaries. And the PPI year over year declined even more than last month, widening slightly from minus 2.7% to minus 2.8%, which is in deflation state since last June for 10 months already. We have seen the latest trade number slided from 5.6% of February to minus 7.5% of March, partly due to a high base level in 2023. However, if we look at the 2 years compounded growth, the export year over year in US dollar terms stables at the same level of next month. And looking at the same way, the import year over year in US dollar terms improves further, though by a slight margin. So yes, it is weaker than the market consensus, but market consensus is heavily influenced by the data trend. Most likely, if February's data beats the market, they would get too optimistic. So I would say the export growth is still stable and congruent with improvement on PMI of the US and the EU. What concerns me is what you brought up in your questions, global trade dynamics. We know that China export year-over-year growth declined in 2023 after the pandemic. And what worries us more is destination country structure change. Though China has gained some share in the One Belt and One Road area, including Russia, the Africa, and Asian countries, but export to the most developed market, including to the US, the EU, Japan, Korea, and Singapore, decreased by different extent. Some may export to those developed countries eventually, of the third country. Supply chain keeps on adjusting. I see that some new manufacturers will arise sooner or later. So judging from the first quarter's average monthly exports to individual economies, the adjustment seems still ongoing. We see that the first quarter average monthly exports to the US decreased 4.4%, to Japan decreased 9.5%, to Korea decreased 11.9%, to Singapore decreased 14.7%, to the EU decreased 6.9%. So watching for the export growth year over year, we should be alert to the structural changes at the same time, which represents unstable global supply chain right now.
Definitely. Now let's shift gear a little bit. What do you think are the main strategies outlined in the State Council's recent guideline aimed at enhancing regulation, mitigating risks, and fostering high-quality development in China's capital market?
Yes, this is actually the third guidance for the capital market in China's capital market history. The first in 2004, the second in 2014. Each after 1 or 2 years, the capital market witnessed a bull market afterwards, which probably means a proper regulation system is helpful to a healthy market development. And this time, I think the State Council is trying to align the interests of investors with business owners, including the dividend payment guidance, the strict pickup of potential company, the strict delisting measures, which are all meant to control the quality of the listed company, making them worthy investment targets. For the investors, there are also risk mitigating measures, but I think for investors' side, the rules should be clear and strict, but within the series of rules restrictions. An active traded capital market.
Seems like we're having a little bit of difficulties, technical difficulties. That was Qin Yong, special guest researcher at Shanghai Development Research Foundation for us. China's economy is projected to experience a growth rate of 4.8% according to the Asian Development Outlook 2024 report released by the Asian Development Bank on Thursday. Chief representatives from the Multilateral Lending Agency's office in China have noted that improvements in the labor market and household income are anticipated to increase household consumption, contributing to China's economic growth in 2024.
This year, we expect the PRC China to grow at 4.8% and then down to 4.5% next year. We highlight that there is an improved labor market and household income to support the consumption. On the investment side, we expect support from fiscal policy will drive the growth of investment. On the inflation forecast, we expect the CPI inflation to rebound from 0.2% last year to 1.1% this year and then 1.5% next year.
We also expect fiscal expansion to further drive investment in manufacturing and infrastructure this year and next year, offsetting the moderation in the real estate investment. And this year we still expect headwinds from the external factors to continue weighing on the net export demands.
You're watching Global Business, still to come. The 4th China International Consumer Products Expo, the largest of its kind in Asia Pacific, is set to kick off tomorrow in China's southern island province of Hainan.
The Asia Pacific's largest consumer products exhibition is back. Join CGTN at the China International Consumer Products Expo in Haikou. Over 3,000 global consumer brands converge to showcase their latest and most unique products. We're at the forefront of China's evolving consumer trends to show you how businesses are leveraging China's rapidly expanding consumer market for growth.
The 4th China International Consumer Products Expo is set to open in Haikou, the capital city of southern China's Highland province, on Saturday, themed on sharing open opportunities and co-creating a better life. The expo is expected to showcase novel and upmarket products for global consumers. Tang Bo reports.
Over 4,000 brands from 71 countries and regions. This is China's first major international exhibition in 2024, the 4th China International Consumer Products Expo. For the first time, the expo will be held across various venues, with the Hainan International Convention and Exhibition Center serving as the main hub. It would also feature 3 themed exhibitions on selling and yachting, health consumption, and duty-free shopping. This year's expo sees a record-breaking 128,000 square meter exhibition area. What comes to your mind when you think of Ireland? An abundance of green landscapes, dairy products, a great literary history, and a passion for sports. But that's not all. Ireland is the guest of honor at this year's expo, with a dedicated exhibition area showcasing the country's scientific and technological innovation, education, investment, and culture. Do come and take a look. The 6-day event has attracted exhibitors from 71 countries and regions. Over 300 brands from 11 RCEP member countries are taking part this year. The UK, Mongolia, and Malaysia will showcase their products in groups for the first time. According to the expo organizers, related activities will be held across the province, touching upon new energy, tourism, green financing, fashion, and so on. Tang Bo, CGTN, Haikou, Hainan Province.
Luxury travel retailer DFS Group has started construction on a massive 7-star retail and entertainment complex in Sanya. The project, which is expected to attract 16 to 18 million visitors every year by 2030, shows the group's confidence in the development of the Hainan Free Trade Port and China's tourism industry and luxury retail market. Our reporter Wang Tianyu spoke to DFS China President Nancy Liu to get more insights.
Firstly, I think that the fact that the Chinese government have had this vision and the process to gradually, in stages, open up Hainan to the world is a tremendous opportunity for DFS as a luxury travel retailer. So from our perspective, the imminent end of 2025 island seal-off is a very exciting prospect for us. Our Yalong Bay project is the single largest investment within DFS's 60-year history. So our ambition and our commercial plans for this project is incredibly important. I would say within the group, it's probably the most important project in the foreseeable future.
How confident are you with the return on investment of your project in Sanya?
We can already see that back in 2019, already the Chinese consumption of worldwide global luxury already exceeded 30%. We can already see today in Hainan that Sanya in particular is already ranked number 3 after Shanghai. Beijing is now the number 3 luxury market in China. We also have seen the consumer trends have changed after COVID. They are not as keen to travel overseas. They want to travel closer to home. We can see that in terms of Asia Pacific and Hainan in particular, the growth of the inbound coming in has really taken off. So our confidence in Hainan and the Chinese consumer wanting to stay closer to home in buying and shopping and retailing and entertainment will be very high.
Have you noticed any shift in spending patterns of Chinese consumers in the past few years, especially after the pandemic?
I think that, we've got what we call the icon brands. They continue to perform very strong. So in the likes of Vuitton and Dior and Tiffany, these icon brands continue to perform very strong. The other trend that we see is that the younger consumers are looking for new brands, right? They're looking for what we call indie or independent brands. Independent brands are becoming much more favorable by the Gen Zs, right? So these are all the consumer trends that we have in mind for Yalong Bay project. We've got the icons, of course, that are coming, but we're also looking at the indie brands to attract the Gen Zs that are also coming. Then, of course, you have the whole live streaming piece, which has gone a bit crazy, but also live streaming. How do we incorporate that so that we can speak to the younger consumer that may not have landed in Sanya yet, but are planning their next trip coming into Sanya? So how do we reach that potential young consumer that wants to plan their Hainan trip and in particular come to Yalong Bay? So I'd say the key trends, icon continues to perform very well. The indie brands also, there's a huge uptrend for them. Third is, how do we speak to our consumers online in advance of their trip? So these, I would say, are the key trends that we're seeing right now.
Pictures of Chinese celebrities wearing traditional flower hairpins known as Zhanhua have become an online sensation. This trend has given rise to a booming business in Zhanhua photography as people eagerly capture their own moments with these exquisite accessories. Our reporter Zhu Zhu has more.
Have you ever worn a flower hairpin? This Chinese cultural tradition, also known as Zhanhua, went viral in China recently, following a series of pictures showing celebrities wearing Zhanhua in Xunpu Village, Fujian Province.
要有这种小的花朵，花朵朝前。
Firstly, we need to have a headband and stick on a row of small flowers. The second step is using medium-sized flowers, and the last row should be filled with these small grass flowers. In southern regions like Gwangju, real flowers are used, while in northern regions, mostly artificial flowers are used due to weather conditions.
This has also sparked a boom in the business of Zanhua travel photography. For example, during China's Lunar New Year, Xunpu Village saw a six-fold increase in tourist arrivals, with tourism revenue exceeding 70 million yuan, or about $9.7 million.
我们今天簪花客户就约了大概有6-7位吧。
At the end of last year, there were beautiful pictures of flower hairpins online. Later on, hairpin travel photography became popular. Our store was fully booked for the Qingming holiday that just passed.
就是在网上看到了很多很好看的小姐姐。
I heard that the flowers pinned on the hair of female fishers symbolizes women's independence. They're gradually simplifying the complex hairpins into ones that even ordinary girls like me can wear. I think it's very meaningful.
好多美女都在拍这个。
Because the spring season has beautiful scenery and great weather, taking pictures with Zanhua at this time would be great.
Wearing Zanhua, doing makeup, and taking pictures costs around 300 to 500 yuan per person in Beijing, or about $40 to $70.
都可以接受。
I think it's affordable because it's a very good experience.
因为感觉这边风景比较好。
I'm traveling here and only take once, so I think it's worth it.
Zanhua has a history of over 3,000 years, and it is one of China's intangible cultural heritage. There was a beautiful traditional saying that if you put flowers in your hair in your this life, you will also be pretty in your afterlife. So I even feel myself being prettier now. Starting from Xunpu Village and now moving into many other places, especially ancient towns, taking pictures with Zanhua highlights the enduring charm of Chinese cultural tradition in modern consumption. Zhuzhu, CGTN, Beijing.
You're watching Global Business, still to come. Germany and France witness inflation easing to 2.3% amid energy price fluctuations, while Spain experiences uptick.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global Business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business, only on CGTN.
Now we turn to Europe and take a look at the latest inflation numbers. Germany and France both saw the annual inflation ease to 2.3% in March, driven by declines in energy and food prices. It's also the lowest inflation seen in Germany for 3 years. However, inflation in Spain has ticked up from 2.8 to 3.2% due to a rise in domestic energy prices. The European Central Bank on Thursday said it will maintain unchanged interest rates while also signaling a potential rate cut in June. This decision contrasts with the U.S. Federal Reserve's stance, as they have previously stated that they're not in a rush to implement rate cuts. Additionally, an ECB official has affirmed the Eurozone's ability to operate independently. The question now arises, how will the actions of the U.S. Federal Reserve impact Europe and the ECB? Peter Oliver has more on this.
Christine Lagarde would like you to think that they don't play a huge role, but they clearly do. I mean, she was bombarded with questions about how much of a role does inflation not coming down in the United States, or the CPI figures not being exactly what they expected in the United States, impact upon plans in the Eurozone for cutting inflation. And the short answer is they impact them massively. She said that the decisions in the Eurozone would be data-driven, not Fed-driven. But all of the mood music around this has been that if the rates don't come down in the US and the rates do come down in the Eurozone, there's potentially some tricky issues that appear on the horizon concerning trade, concerning currency exchanges, and even outside of the Eurozone within the EU. We've heard from the heads, or the deputy head, I beg your pardon, of the Swedish central bank saying they're a little unsure about what it would mean for inflation in their country, that it could drive that back up. It could also drive inflation back up in the Eurozone. So we're going to have to keep an eye on what happens in the United States. It will depend what happens there, how much of an interest rate, or if there's an interest rate cut here in the Eurozone.
Brazil's population is aging, and finding work for the country's senior citizens was the mission taken up by a social startup founded in the country. Our correspondent Paulo Gabriel brings us the story of Labora and of some of the people and companies that have benefited from this project.
Ana Cristina de Andrade was a school teacher for 45 years. In 2017, she retired, but went back into the labor market in 2021 to work as a text revisor in this advertising agency. And at 73 years old, she has no intention of retiring again and is happy working alongside colleagues who are mostly in their late 20s and early 30s.
At first, I found retirement to be a celebration because I had all this free time. But then I started to find it tedious. I think that younger people benefit from our worldview, our patience, and our maturity. And as for me, I've learned a lot from the younger people, especially how to stay up to date.
The company's CEO say they have a few seniors in the company now, mostly hired through a startup called Labora, which focuses on preparing workers above 50 years old to rejoin the labor market.
So we have now people from 61 years old to 74 years old working with us here. And it's amazing. I think the great thing about diversity is that it's business oriented. Once you have it, you become better in business.
Creating more spaces in the labor market for the elderly could be a win-win situation. On an individual level, it helps keep seniors active and integrated into society, while also benefiting the economy by extending workers' productive years.
Startup Labora is the brainchild of the social entrepreneur who began organizing meetings with senior citizens for them to share needs and interests. And regaining a place in the labor market was among them.
The good news is that last year we made an assessment with more than 300 companies, and they are starting to wake up for this new situation.
And how do you convince businesses to hire these people? What's your pitch?
I have to hack the system. How did we hack the system? Actually, we provide service that companies need. This language every business understands. We have a platform that involves 50,000 people, 50 plus talents that are reinventing themselves. They are taking courses, they are reskilling themselves and preparing to the new jobs that are just appearing right now.
As the population in many parts of the world, including Brazil, gets older, there is an effort to use the skills and the experience of seniors as much as possible. And many say they are happy, willing, and able to be a part of this. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, São Paulo.
And that would do it for this edition of Global Business. I'm Misha Vandenberg in Beijing. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.